Hi once again, everyone, and I would like you to welcome to the Learning Ideas Conference 2022. Once again, our next session is gonna be named Cascades of Concepts of Virtual Time Travel Games for the Training of Industrial Accident Prevention. And our speakers for today is Klaus Janke, PhD, Germany, Ronny Franke, as well from Germany, and Hans Kolzer Wasch, Germany. And Miss Oksana is not going to be able to join us today. And I would like to give the stage to our dear speakers. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much for the introduction. Here is our presentation. I hope you can all see that, dear colleagues and friends. We are four authors listed here, Oksana Arnold, Ronny Franke, me, and Hans-Holger Wache in alphabetic order. And our topic is Cascades of Concepts of Virtual Time Travel Games for the Training of Industrial Accident Prevention. So we speak about the application area of industrial accident prevention and training for this purpose. The main, tool we have are virtual time travel games. You need to get an impression of what virtual time travel games are.
Sorry, Janusz, the presentation is not on.
It's not on. A bit better?
Yep, perfect.
Thanks. The four authors I mentioned already. Our application area is training of industrial accident prevention. The tool we are wielding is virtual time travel games. And the innovations we have developed during the last 12 months is cascades of concepts in which artificial intelligence more and more takes guidance of a human trainee toward a successful training to sustainability and to real effects. That's what we are going to speak about. And before we speak about all these things, I asked Ronny to be so kind as to show us a first video that's intended to give the audience a certain impression of what we are doing. Please, Ronny. Video number 1.
The Virtual Training Factory. Train playfully dangerous workflows without any risk. We combined AI and our time travel prevention game concept. This offers individual learning for routine processes in your workspace. Any special work task can be simulated. Train yours with a number of unlimited tries. We design any kind of workspace and develop special action processes so you can train for more work safety.
So you got a first impression of what we are doing, but we need to tell you much more details. We, that is Oksana Arnold, called Oki. She's a professor at Erfurt University of Applied Sciences. Then there is Hans-Holger. Hans-Holger is the one who does the real application to real people, to real enterprises, to real problems. He is working in a statutory insurance where 34,000 enterprises are registered with 1.6 million insurance. Those are our audience for training. And Ronny is a main player here because he is developing the virtual reality and make it running. I'm Klaus Jantke, called Janosch. I'm in the background, as you see it here on this picture. What we are stressing is training of industrial accident prevention. This is really an extremely important issue. And the point is, we need to have effective training that is effective. If we don't reach the human trainees, then what we are doing is not sustainable and not so much helpful. So this is the ultimate goal, training of industrial accident prevention. We have presented already some work at the last year's Learning Ideas Conference. This is in the proceedings, and there is a journal article. I have very briefly collected the data here for you. There we introduced the time travel prevention game concept, and we explained it and illustrated it, how it works really for certain applications. This year we go much further, and this shall be demonstrated in the second half of this slide deck. In the first half, we repeat some essentials that are important to understand on what we are building, on what we are expanding our current work. The time travel prevention game term has been coined in 2015 on a German conference and expo named Deutscher Präventionstag. This is German Prevention Day. Oh my God, Day. German Prevention Day, an annual event that deals with all kinds of prevention. And they have a web page on which time travel prevention game is listed as one of the key terms of prevention. Key term in German means Schlüsselbegriff, highlighted here. So, what we are doing when we design time travel prevention games is that we are organizing future forthcoming experience of trainees. We are anticipating what trainees might do, and there are a lot of questions open because humans behave differently in difficult circumstances, in difficult conditions. So we are making very flexible plans, and those plans are storyboards as introduced in that 2005 paper with Rainer Knauf. In fact, we are using this in a lot of applications. The problem is that storyboarding forthcoming experience is difficult because humans who come for training have very largely varying experience. They learn differently, and we need to be effective. That is, we need to adapt to their needs. They have preferences, and they have also things they don't like or they fear even. So training may depend on context conditions, such as the question whether a co-trainee is present or not, and many other things. You all know that. And the key point is that when we are making these plans, when we design the forthcoming interactions, information is incomplete. This is always incomplete. We do not know who will come. We do not know in which conditions those human beings will be. And we do not know how much they differ in experience, in learning characteristics, and in other preferences. So we have adapted and adopted a planning approach that works well for bringing a disturbed technical installations back to a normal regime of operation. This is cited here in the box. It's, in a sense, an old paper, it's a book from 1996. And this planning approach is underlying our storyboarding, our planning. It's also planning, right? Plan generation for human behavior, for human-computer interaction. The formal concepts, you don't need to learn these formally today. You will get some illustrations. The formal concept is that a storyboard or a plan in earlier days is a structured family of graphs. There are graphs together in one bag. There is a top-level graph and other graphs are sitting there, and they describe what possibly might happen when a human is engaging in training. Graphs have different nodes. They are scenes, they are elementary, they have some meaning in the domain. A scene might mean the display of a PDF document or a text in HTML. A scene might mean to play a video or an audio file. A scene might mean to advise the human to take a break of 5 minutes. So something elementary that needs no further explanation. There is just material or something like that, and this defines the scene. Episodes are compound. Episodes describe varying ways to deal with the one or the other problems. There might be alternative implementations of episodes. So for episodes, we have graphs to be substituted in the episode. It's like you have a big graph, and for certain nodes, you substitute later another graph. So the graph is growing and describes some more detail of interaction. And the substitution might take place in the one or in the other way. And so during interaction, the storyboard, the plan unfolds, so to speak. And if you suspend this expansion as long as possible, then you can react to more data, to human behavior, to changing context conditions. So it is advisable not to have a plan in the beginning. That's never a good idea. It works only in trivial cases. It's always a good idea to have plans that are dynamic and that emerge during interaction in the one or in the other way. That's what we are adopting and adapting from the technical domain. Here you see on the left-hand side some very rough graph describing some learning interaction, some training interaction. There might be some preceding activity. In the simplest case, this is just an introduction. In a more complex case, this is perhaps a training session before. Then there is a core training session. And the core training session may have, it is an episode, may have different following activities. One might be that an undesired event occurs. You saw that in the video, an explosion and fire. And in such a case, we offer time travel to go back in time and start the training again. And this storyboard graph you see here describes the key idea of storyboard in the storyboard form of time travel prevention games. So storyboard graphs represent didactic concepts, they represent game concepts, and they represent the dovetailing of didactics and gameplay. And what the training session is might be refined in different ways. There are alternative graphs for substitution. Here you see another high-level storyboard graph that tells after a task formulation, there's a training episode illustrated by such a screenshot. And the training episode has a result. For instance, explosion and fire. And we analyze the data, and the trainee in the exit menu gets offered the opportunity for time traveling or to go home and to quit for today. And if the player decides to go back into the training session, which is now here shown in a cloud, so to speak, there are different activities that took already place in the past, in the virtual past. And time travel means to re-entry this past, to come to a point from where you can start the one or the other activities again. And only in this small world, you will get some more illustrations by videos about this small world. Only in this small world, there are more than 10,000 interaction paths, what humans can do. Humans can behave very differently. And with one more time traveling, you can do this for a second time. Then we have already 100 million varying interaction paths. That's a space in which we are training. And the second video will give you some impression. Thank you, Ronnie. Second video, please. Thank you, Ronnie. So our audience got a first impression how training goes from a fire through a time travel to the ultimate success. If such an undesired event occurs, the key idea is that trainees should get another chance. And what you saw is our virtual time tunnel. So you saw this yellow object in which icons occur. Icons describe.
Janusz, sorry.
Yeah.
You must share again the screen.
You see, even in giving presentations, you have from time to time undesired accidents. And what we are doing here is time travel training for presenters. That's me in the moment. So we travel back to a moment of the presentation and I try it again. And if there is no slide in display, then I travel back in time and try it again. In this case, it is controlled by human intelligence in the background. What we are doing is we are trying to control this by artificial intelligence. We have this general structure in which time travel means to dive into such a time tunnel. This is this yellow object in which icons represent earlier episodes. And these earlier episodes are something like stations of a journey. And trainees can choose, when they decide for a time travel, can choose to which stations they want to travel, where they want to get off the time travel and start again. Time travel looking like this. The icons are here. And trainees click the icons that are destinations in the past where they are going to. But it might easily happen, that human trainees fail again and again due to some misunderstanding. And what we need here is intelligent guidance. We have some real, but here systematic representation. The upper row shows all the icons representing events that took place in the part of a training session. There is a pump very much on the right, very much on the left. There are glasses. You see a helmet, and you see other equipment such as a barrel and the like. You see grounding cables. When a human failed in a certain training session, the human trainee gets offered in the time tunnel all these objects and can make her or his choice where to travel to. It might happen that an undesired event occurs again, and then, intelligently, the offer of stations is a bit reduced, as you see it in row 2 or row 3. And when trainees fail too often, the AI is reducing the offers where to travel to very much. This is negotiated among domain experts, among learning psychologists, about game specialists, and naturally we are technicians who have to make all this become true. And in the very end, to bring the human being to success, the AI is very strict and allows only to travel to some point. And this point, here demonstrated by a pump in row 5, there was a problem and there has to be made something different. We will have a look at changing time travel over time, AI guiding the time travel opportunities. So, Ronnie, please. So, you got an impression of how AI can gradually help a human trainee coming to an ultimate success. It is very important that trainees consider the problem solving as their own mastery. Only this is sustainable. They should go home and should be able to say, I did it. I personally solved the problem. Another effect is, by the way, that it should be worth telling, that they tell others, oh, wow, that's good training. You should go there. Great experience. That's what we developed in the past, and it's still quite innovative. But we are going even further. We are going to deal with more subtle conditions in which there is not such a unique event as an explosion and fire. Sometimes you have just gradually distinguished problems, something like noxious vapor in the air, more or less of that stuff. So such that after playing the core game, that after the training session, you need to check the data. And when you check the data, you might be more or less satisfied with the outcome. And the one trainee might go home and quit, and the other one might engage in time travel to deal with that problem a bit better the next time. The new application area we are presenting this year, beyond the limits of last year's presentation, is the paint and coatings industry, where paint, stain, varnish, and like is produced. And you see that here illustrated by a screenshot of a virtual basket mill in the main training session note in the episode. To give you an impression, we want to show you first the virtual factory we have in real cooperation with real applicants. And after that, we want to tell you a bit more about the artificial intelligence we deploy for a better training. But we start with a visit to the virtual factory. Ronnie, please. So now you saw what might happen in the paint and coatings industry. There is no explosion, there is no fire. Where is the problem? Problems are sometimes, as all of us are aware about, I assume, are sometimes invisible. And we need measures to find out what the problems are. So we have to develop more advanced and more powerful concepts, related implementations, and applications. So we step from time travel prevention games to dynamic time travel prevention games. When there are slight problems that may be, say, overcome by slight modifications of the past, it might be difficult for humans to find out what to do precisely. And it might easily happen that we have more and more time travel events necessary to succeed in training. And this is then boring and disappointing, causes frustration, and so is damaging our training effect. So what we need is more intensive help of artificial intelligence. And the key of our proposal developed here and implemented and demonstrated to you practically is that the AI has the opportunity, not only the human being, but also the AI has the opportunity to change the past. The past is no longer what it used to be. When a human is traveling back to an episode of the past, this episode may occur somehow differently. And this is a novelty we have introduced here, more personalized guidance by means of artificial intelligence. And aspects are, for example, modifying the destination episode where a human is traveling to in such a way that some objects are no longer there, so that the human has no chance to choose the wrong object. That's one modification. Reducing the history of play means a human is traveling back to some point and may act there, but in subsequent episodes, what takes place there is already implemented. There is no chance to make another mistake. And another, the third opportunity is to enrich a destination episode. Enrich it by more information, more guidance, for example, by an avatar, a non-player character that is there in the world and that has not been there before. Or some visualizations that are new. And we will show that to you in a moment, naturally, because you should get an impression of what we are doing. And those things can be also overlaid. So we are starting from the beginning, from time travel prevention games, with controlling time travel more and more, and then with changing the past. And all these things can be done in a somehow overlaying way, if you like, so you can do the one and the other. There are really cascades of artificial intelligence approaches to more and more strictly help the human being to be successful. We have some video that is showing you how we change the past. We change the past by a new character occurring who wasn't there the last time. We change the past by making vapor visible. That's what's dangerous, noxious, and normally not visible to a human trainee. And on an even higher level of abstraction, we can show heat maps that express and clearly indicate in the virtual world the areas of danger. All this comes in the next video. Ronnie, please. So what you have seen is what's the innovation of our this year's presentation in comparison to the last year's presentation. We are changing the past dynamically. We deal with not only time travel prevention games, what's still quite nice, and maybe we are the only in the world who are doing that theoretically and in practice, but we are stepping from time travel prevention games to dynamic time travel prevention games, where the dynamics means that we change the past, or the AI is changing the past for a better guidance of the human being. Dynamically controlled modification of the past. That's a form of artificial intelligence, and it is really key to the trainee success, to satisfaction, and as I said here, to effectivity and to sustainability. What we need is training environments in which the trainees are successful. Every individual must be successful, and every individual must consider the success as an own gratification for mastery. And then they will remember that, they will tell it to others, they will not forget, and this means effective and sustainable training in areas that are so important, like accident prevention. We have no video for this year because we thought we shouldn't spend too much of your time. You see, what we have is a novel approach. Time travel prevention games are key, but dynamics in time travel prevention games is just another quality, and this is new on this year's The Learning Ideas Conference. Thank you very much for your attention, and back to our moderator. Thank you.
Thank you so much once again. And I would like to open the floor for the question. If there is any, please type in the chat box, dear participants. And okay, we have gained one question from Vera. She is wondering, in how many enterprises is the game already being used?
I believe to say who is using our technology is a question to Hans Holger. How many enterprises are using what we, that is mostly Ronnie and you, are doing for training?
We hope that in the future many thousands of people can use it in our learning center. We have 2 learning centers in Germany, and it grows, and we want to go with open source for other themes.
Okay, thank you. Hope, Vera, your question was answered clearly. If you would like to elaborate on that, please let us know. A second question as well from our dear host, Taeyong. She's wondering that how is this approach different from running simulations of system, all possible conditions and detecting accidents?
This is difficult to say. I would put it like that. We have an approach that is dynamic in the sense that what we are offering is not planned in advance. There is no simulation programmed, implemented, that tells in advance what will happen after 10 minutes of play or interaction. We have the storyboarding approach, where what will take place after a certain time is dynamically defined on what happened before. So the dynamics is that when a human being is interacting with a training system and something important takes place, what the next activity is dynamically decided in dependence on what happened before, in dependence on maybe data of the human being. It might even depend on the weather outside. And it might depend on the time of the day. If you think about, for example, training of children, then at 10 o'clock at night, you might wish to shorten the training. And at 2 p.m., you might think about having enough time for one more round to go. This dynamics comes from the planning approach we have adopted and adapted from the therapy of technological processes. And to me, this is really key. There is never a plan before that is complete. Plans emerge during interaction, because step by step, what happens is, so to say, introduced into the plan, and the plan grows. And in the end, when everything is over, you know which plan has been executed. And you cannot say that in advance.
I think that was really, really nice answer to the Taeyang's questions. It was comprehensive. We hope it is all right with you as well. Let us know if you would like to elaborate on that. I'm gonna mark it as answered for now. The next question from Dear Vera is, what kind of feedback do you got so far from trainees?
I didn't get that. I didn't get that correctly, Ronnie. If you got it.
The question was, what kind of feedback do you got so far from trainees?
So, Hans-Holger, Ronnie, what are people telling to you? You see, I'm in a fine position. I'm the theoretician in the background. I can lean back and say, yeah, I had the great ideas. Now, what are the boys saying who had to do the job? Huh? Yeah, right, Ronnie?
Yeah, okay.
What is feedback you are getting if you go to the, as you call it, to the Farbenfabrik? What is the feedback you are getting?
Yeah, mostly the first feedback is, that's cool. This is another way to learn. We can make this interactive. And this is another way in difference to presentations and talks and videos. And so the training is more innovative and so more efficient. So the people like to play the tools and to find out, in this case, what are there for dangerous in the real factory, and they want to learn with the tool. This is different to the past, where such a training session was boring and not so impressive. And yeah, this is so mostly our feedback. And of course, there are a lot of young people. This is a media virtual reality of not only, but also of young people. And they know that from home, from gaming. So they are very motivated to use such a tool.
All right, thank you, Ronnie, as well for answering. Vera, we hope you're satisfied with the answer. I'm gonna mark it as answered. So if there's any more questions, please let us know.
I would like to thank the audience, because it is always difficult if you are confronted to completely different stuff you never have seen before, and sometimes it is tiring or exhausting. And if people stay to the end, it is great. Thank you.
Indeed, yeah, Mr. Klaus. Because for myself personally as well, this kind of new technologies are something new. So while watching it, and it was nice that we had view to the videos as well, so we can imagine it as you were talking and explaining us everything. That's great. Thank you. Okay. Once again, we still have time for the Q&A, so feel free to ask our dear speakers any questions, and we're just on time.
May I have one last word for me, please? May I say one more sentence?
Sure.
I wish you all a great conference. Last year, it was already a great conference. It seems to be another great conference this year, and I'm keeping the fingers crossed for continuing success. I want to say that with much empathy I have for this activity here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Klaus. I'm sure everyone's appreciating that. There is more questions coming up. One more about from Vera. She is wondering, how do you deal with cyber sickness?
Yeah, of course, cyber sickness is a problem. But our tool is independently from specific hardware. So it's possible to go in a virtual reality, but it's also possible to use the tool about the browser in the internet or on a standard default personal computer. So we are able to change the environment to the people. So if this is one answer. The other answer is the content is very slow. So we don't make fast flies or animations, and we go very slowly to the virtual factory. And this makes it easier to avoid cyber sickness.
But the question is a good question, I believe. We always need to have those issues in mind. We should think about always.
And we can also jump between the different learning tools. It's not necessary to walk with speed or beaming or so on. And so can be, cyber sickness is not a problem for us.
Of course, there are a lot of people who don't want to use virtual reality device, and therefore we have a default PC version, for example. So every trainee can use the tool in the arbitrary way of his own aim.
And it's possible to more modes. For gamers, for example, they have a free mode. They can do what they want and they can deal with cyber sickness. But for other people, we have step by step, and it's shorter than in free mode. And it helps to deal with cyber sickness.
Thank you so much for your answer as well. Vera, please let us know if you're right with the answer as well. Let's move on to the next question. Vicky she's saying that it is all great, and she says, I have been on the receiving end of technical training that we always dreaded. Thanks for taking it from dreaded to interesting, she says. That is a nice comment. Thank you, Vicky.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
And in fact, to say that it's great pleasure to do that job.
Oh, that's nice to hear. I guess it's very interesting to be working on this kind of project, especially knowing that it is helping people in real world and preventing them from getting into any danger. I can imagine that.
And to be very honest, and I'm a bit immodest normally, really. Maybe we are the only in the world doing it like that. And that's also a great pleasure.
Wow, that is impressive.
Immodest, I know, I'm sorry. It's like that.
That is impressive. Being a pioneering in this field, that is. And actually, I think via this conference, you are doing a great recognition to this kind of processes happening. I agree with that. So it was super nice learning about the technologies as well, the speakers. And if you would like to share any comments, you're welcome to do so right now as well.
No, I'm fine.
That's good. So it was really nice seeing Mr. Klaus as well, that you learned pretty quick, sharing screen, playing the videos, and Mr. Ronnie as well. It was smooth.
That's true.
So thank you. And Mr. Hans
Thank you.
Holder as well.
Yeah. And thank you for supporting us.
Yeah. And maybe see you again next year.
Thank you. Maybe. Thank you so much. I'm trying my best, and this is the first time I'm participating as a Learning Ideas conference. So that will be really nice to see you again the next year.
Great.
And, right. I'm wondering about the format of the previous conference. Was it? I suppose it was virtual then as well, hybrid.
It was hybrid, and it appeared differently. So I believe with that tool here, we have more opportunities, but more opportunities make it all also a bit more difficult.
Yes, it is getting complex then.
Yeah. But after some years, we will have learned about. So let us just plan to be for the next 5 years on the Learning Ideas Conference. Then we will be perfect in wielding the tool.
That is wonderful, indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah, indeed. Well, that was my pleasure to host a session. Actually, also, I know that this conference in-person format is taken at Columbia University right now. And I have graduated last year. So, and once I heard about the conference, I was really eager to take a participation here. So it is my honor to be hosting the session and learning about all these wonderful ideas with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
So
you.
take care. And looking from the perspective of the pandemic, all I wish you is negative.
That is very creative. Thank you. Yeah, same. I wish you the same. So far, we just
So we
perfectly
have
on
to
time.
leave the stage, right? To make space for other people.
So actually, for this track number 7, you've been the last team to present. So after this, we may actually end the session as well. I hope I can connect with you on LinkedIn. So I'll try to find you there. Then.
Okay,
That means we can stay a bit longer and order some beer.
Wonderful. I mean, I'm
that's
not
a
big
good
fan
idea.
of beer. Thank you. I have tried one in Munich when I was in Germany. It was pretty iconic.
Yeah, in Germany now it's Feierabend.
Interesting. Interesting. Feierabend. Well, so far so good. And okay, I think there is no more questions. Great. So thank you so much once again, the speakers. I would like to thank you all, PhD Anil Singh. I would like to thank you, Mr. Klaus, Ronnie, and Hans Holger. It was really nice hearing from you. And Ms. Oksana, also thank you for putting effort for the session. It was my pleasure to conduct the session, and I wish you all a wonderful day, evening, depending on where you are. And once again, it was wonderful to have you on the Learning Ideas conference. And
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Take care, and as you know, everything negative.
Everything negative. Okay, great. Very positive response. I'm going to end the session here. Thank you so much. Goodbye.
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 Bye.